Welcome back, guys, or should I say welcome grade 11s. I hope you are ready for today's physical science. Oh no, life science.
Life
science.
Let's get it.
Do you remember the time I called you Felicia the entire show?
Yes, I do.
I do.
Yeah.
She's
just in case. Life sciences, grade 11s
with Felicia.
With Kathy.
Yeah.
Sure, Andy.
Okay, yeah, you see Andy. I like that. And today, what are we going to be chatting about?
I don't know, hey?
Let's have a look.
Maybe about Felicia and physical science?
And the transport system in plants.
That's what we're doing, people. The transport system in plants. So we're going to be telling you, I mean, we know about blood. You cut yourself, you spew blood out all over the show. Okay, and if it's nice, bright red blood, you know that, oops, it was an artery. And if it's sort of dark and not pumping out, then we know it was a vein. That's our transport system, and we know it, we understand it. But guess what? Plants, believe it or not, those green things outside actually have an amazing transport system. Okay, they've got to get the water from the soil. Indy, you're not interested in this one.
I am.
You're not half as excited about plants as you are about the animal side of the physiology side.
I'm very excited in the body, but you know what? I know Kathy said to me, but we have to know plants. We have to know this. It's part of the syllabus. It's very important in knowing how plants work and how things work. So that's what we're going to do, people. We are going to learn about plants today.
We are going to do
Kathy's going to
plants.
make it fun. I promise.
And it's easy. It is so easy. It's just little tiny things. If you learn those, the rest just flows.
So it's kind of like free marks, guys. That's what we're giving you today.
Yeah.
Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/learnextra. Also @learnextra. Chat to us, chat to me, and I'll speak to
Ask
Kathy.
questions, people. Please ask questions, because if you've missed something or you don't understand, remember, I don't know. I'm relying on Indy to say, hold on. We've got so-and-so who says, whoa, I stop the car, reverse, and please explain that again. All right.
Yeah. So use me as your pause button.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we'll see you after the break, and let's get learning extra. Welcome back, guys. I'm so excited. We're chatting grade 11 life sciences with Kathy. Let's get straight to it. Get those questions in, and I'll try and kind of nicely, get in with Kathy and say, hey, Kathy, they're not understanding. So the only place to start is the beginning.
Welcome to grade 11, grade 11s. You are in for quite a ride. You had grade 10, and now you're into your second phase of your 3-year FET, further education and training, which is going to give you an NQF level 4. And you look and think, whoa, what is that? Well, that is your matric certificate eventually at the end of grade 12. So in the meantime, we have to get through grade 11. Now, in grade 10, you did the cell, and you did all the organelles in the cell. Now we are going to look at plant and animal tissue. Now, if you recall, cells group together to make tissue. The tissues make layers, and those layers eventually become an organ. The organs group together to form a system, and all the systems in your body end up making you the organism. Okay, so start off with your cells, grade 10. In grade 11, we are doing the tissue layers, which make up the organs, which make up the systems, which make up the organism, being in this case, plants. So your plants are going to be your organism. And we're looking at what system? The transport system. You may say, well, hold on a minute. Those boring green things outside there that like the grass that our parents want us to mow, and the trees that need to be trimmed, and those green things, and also the pretty flowery things, all plants have to absorb water from the soil and transport that water to their leaves. Why? Well, basically, there are two processes that require a transport system. So it's like their blood system. And that will be, very simply put, let me just move this up. is so that they can get to the leaves. So we want the water needs to go to the leaves. Why? For a process called photosynthesis. Okay, photosynthesis. Photo means light, synthesis means to make. So a plant is going to use light, sunlight, to make food. And that food is stored. Some of it's used, but most of it is stored. And we go along and we eat the plants, or a herbivore will go and eat the plant, and it will then take those proteins and the nutrients and everything that was made during photosynthesis, and it will go into the then consumer's body. All right, so photosynthesis, very important, and it happens in the leaves, everything that's green. That's why they need water. Where's the water coming from? It's coming from the soil. All right, so now we've got the water up the plant, from the soil, up the plant, to the leaves, so that photosynthesis can take place. Okay, let's change our pen. All right, now the second process that's very, very important is now the plant, the leaves have made food. They've made nutrients. Those nutrients, guys and girls, just think about it. The nutrients now have to go from the leaves. So we look at the nutrients, and they need to pass from the leaves, which is where they were produced. Oh, by the way, the process of photosynthesis and making food, the plant creating its own food, we say that the plant is auto, which means on its own, trophic. It can make its own food. Trophic means food. So autotrophic, it can make its own food. By what? Process of photosynthesis. Where? In the leaves. Now, the nutrients that have been made in the leaves, they have to go from the leaves, and hello, they can't just stay in the leaves. So what about those little root cells down there that have to absorb water? And they have to make new cells, and they have to grow and repair and replace. They need nutrients for that. So, hello, how do we get it from the leaves? Well, it can't go the same way it came up, because then we've got, it would be like turning a tap open, Indy, and even somebody who's never done biology or life sciences and introduces grade 11 life sciences, I'm not going to let her forget this, as physical science. I mean, hello. Okay, so let's do a bit of physical science, life science combined.
Let's go.
If we turn a tap open and the water's rushing out, can you now get anything to go up that tap?
No.
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 So, can we have water, the water coming from the soil, up the leaves, to the leaves, up the stem to the leaves for photosynthesis, because they're autotrophic? Can we then get those nutrients to now go in the same tubes? No, we can't. So, guess what? Plants have another process, another structure to get the nutrients from the leaves all the way to the stems, and then from the stems all the way to the little roots. And I say little roots to the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little roots that you could not even see with your eye. Okay, so all of that, we now think, oh, hold on, water coming in, nutrients going down. How do the nutrients get transported? The same way they get in our bodies. Blood? No, but plant blood. And that plant blood is water and a whole bunch of nutrients, just like our blood, except it doesn't look like our blood because it doesn't have erythrocytes. Okay, so we've got two processes. We've got water going up, and I'm going to use a different color here. We've got water going up the plant to the leaves, and we've got nutrients coming, and I'm going to put that in green, coming downhill and being transported everywhere. So this would be water and mineral salts, but mainly water, and this here is going to be nutrients, organic compounds. Now in grade 10, and for the grade 10s that are watching, this is why we focus so much on the chemistry of life. Okay, now, so that when you get to grade 11, which is what I'm going to do now, we understand that the carbohydrates and the proteins and, believe it or not, the fats that we have in a plant can be transported up and down the plant. Okay, now, our two processes or our two structures that are going to transport things up and down a plant are, if it is going up the plant, in other words, it is, I'm putting in brackets, the water or H2O, the water plus mineral salts. Okay, that goes up the plant via the xylem. Okay, and coming down the plant and up the plant and around the plant, okay, is going to be the phloem. And the phloem is going to carry water. You should know water is H2O by now. So water plus nutrients. And what are those nutrients going to be? The nutrients themselves are going to be the carbohydrates, the starch, the fats, and the proteins. And that's what's going to be mixed in the phloem. All right. So this is very important. You've got to understand this. So please, any questions? Indy's your person.
Yeah.
Indy, have we got any questions so far?
Well, we do. What I want to know is, how is water trapped in the soil? And how does the water move from the soil into the plant?
Okay. I need another page.
We need a whole page for that.
Yep.
We need a whole page for that.
Okay, here we go, new page. All right. Water is found in the soil in two ways. Okay. The first one is, you know, when you put your finger in soil and you mush it around and you end up with mud
Muddy
and slushy and yucky stuff all around you,
Yeah.
because the soil feels wet.
Mm-hmm.
That water is called capillary water. Okay, so your capillary water is going to be, if these are the little soil granules, and we get a blue, it's the water that's everywhere in between here. It's the water you're going to be able to feel with your fingers and taste with your tongue if you want to, etc. So that's your capillary water. Okay. The second type of water that you get is it's the hygroscopic water. And hygroscopic water means if this is a little soil particle, you're going to have, it's the thinnest layer of water that sits around that little soil particle. And it sticks to that soil particle pretty much with the same kind of force as static electricity when you take a jersey off and your hair goes funny.
Your rubber balloon on your head.
Your rubber balloon on your
Yeah.
head. Yeah. See, physical science again. She clearly likes physical science people. No. Indy.
Never. Kathy, you're my favorite, and I only love life sciences, only.
Okay, so you're back in my good books. All right, so you got to like, I mean, I've got to let her do these things. Okay, so those are the two types of water. Now, our question was, how do you get this water that sort of sits in the soil? Water can only ever move from the soil, where there is more water, to the root, where there is less water. And you're going to say to me, hold on. How can there ever be less water in the root? Because remember, the water is consistently leaving a leaf. So if I have the leaf here, okay, and there's my stem, and then I've got my little roots doing their thing over here. Okay, so there's my little leaf. All right, And now I've got water all the way around here. So there's my water. And I need the water to come into the root. The water is not going to go to where there is a lot. It's always going to go to where there is less, because in nature, we always have a process where it's a little bit like communism. If you have more, you must give to everyone so that it's evenly distributed. Because the whole idea...
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. There's another one. If you take a cup of tea and you put a teaspoon of sugar into it and you don't stir it, eventually, as you drink the tea, it doesn't taste sweet at all. But as you go lower and lower down, the concentration of the sugar is greater and greater, and it becomes sweeter and sweeter. But if you leave it for long enough, the sugar will dissolve completely.
It's like yesterday in physical science, we learnt about mixtures.
You must remember that
I had to bring that in.
Remember that life sciences is also science, by the way, people. It's a very important science, because this life science syllabus that you have in grade 10, 11, and 12 is about you. It's about your body and about your environment and about plants and how they are a bit different to us. So we've got blood vessels. We've got our arteries and our veins that carry blood up and down our body or all around. Okay.
A little highway.
And we've got the lymphatic system, which carries from our feet only up. So think of your lymphatic system as the xylem function. Okay, it only carries water up, whereas the phloem vessels carry water and nutrients up and down the plant. So from the leaves to the roots, from the roots to the stem, from the stem back to the leaves, because the leaves also need energy to work. So they need the nutrients as well.
So there you go, Tapiwa. He was asking that exact same question, which I was going to jump in and ask you. Tapiwa, I hope you're watching.
Okay, what was it?
It
Phloem
was
xylem function.
Yeah. How are they able to transport food, and how? Yeah.
Only the phloem transports food, people. Only the phloem, and that is up and down the plant. Xylem is only water and the mineral salts necessary that are dissolved in the water, and they travel on their own anyway. But it's mainly the water, and the water goes from a high to a low. Now,
Kathy, sorry. Sibosiso, who's just called now. John, thank goodness I've got him on chat here. You know us, we're like all connected, and I'm like chatting like this. Even though I look like I'm very calm, there's lots of stuff happening behind here. Sibosiso asks, how does xylem and a phloem carry water at the same time? How do they carry water at the same time?
No, man, they don't carry water at the same time. Listen, water. This is what I'm busy explaining to you now, CBC. Listen, darling, listen. Here's the water, and it's all around the little soil particles, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it goes into the root hair, which is a very special structure. It goes into the root hair and up the plant, and it gets up and it gets into the leaf. And what happens in the leaf is photosynthesis. But to make sure that it's got this suction force all the time, it's the same as you sucking a glass of cool drink up a straw. When you let go the suction force, what happens? The cool drink drops back. Am I right? Okay, so I want you to focus on this. The next time you drink a cool drink with a straw, you have your cool drink, you go and you create a suction force in your mouth, and you suck the cool drink up the straw, and it goes into your mouth. Now, we have something called transpiration pull. And transpiration pull creates a suction force. So what happens quite literally is, as the water molecules get to the leaf surface, it diffuses from a high to a low, or it moves by osmosis from a high to a low water potential, and then it diffuses out of the leaf from where there is a lot of water molecules to where there is less. And that's what we call transpiration pull. Okay, transpiration is the water leaving a plant, and that transpiration pull creates a suction force here in the leaf. So think of a long queue. As one person goes,
think of voting. Long queue?
there we go.
Voting?
Voting. Perfect, Indy. People are standing in a queue. This person goes, they put their little cross, they go and put their little paper in, and they come out and the next person goes in. And you have this continuous flow of people. Why? They want to go to that point and then leave. Now that's what we've got here. The water goes from the soil up the plant and out the leaf. Now probably about 80% of the water is released as transpiration out of the leaf. But we sit with 20% that's used for the functions within the plant, or within the tissue of the leaf, but also for photosynthesis. Because remember, photosynthesis is when water from the soil, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, sunlight energy or radiant energy from the sun combines to form, what? Carbohydrates. Okay, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And your hydrogen and your oxygens and the carbohydrates come from water, and the carbon comes from carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So plants use carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. So what have we got? 80% of that water leaves, and it creates a suction force, and that pulls the water up the plant all the time. Now, that's water moving up the xylem. Now, the plant photosynthesizes, and in here we have photosynthesis. What happens? It's producing nutrients. It's producing food. Now, those nutrients must be transported everywhere. Now, can you imagine swallowing in your mouth a mouthful of flour that we won't allow you to chew or mush or mix saliva with? You wouldn't be able to. It's like they say people can't eat a whole packet of Mori biscuits. In fact, very few people can eat 10 Mori biscuits quickly without having any liquid.
I don't know, that's a lie. I know somebody can eat a whole pack of Mori biscuits in like 3 seconds. And I wonder if he's watching.
No liquid.
Maybe. No liquid, he can do it.
That's tough. That's like fear factor stuff. Okay, but you can't. In order to transport something, it must be dissolved. It must be liquidy. It must be runny. It must be fluidy. And that's why we have water plus the nutrients, the food that's made during photosynthesis in the leaves. That has to be transported to all the parts of the plant's body. And the plant organs would be the root, the stem, and the leaves. Yes. You happy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy.
Alrighty. Now, moving along. Okay, you need to know a comparison of the structures. People, this is a table. Learn wherever you can. Learn a table quick, easy. This will be on the website for you to download. Copy it. Don't just print this. You copy it out in color, and then you stick it up somewhere where you're going to look at it every day 3-4 times. Promise you, within a week, you will know it all off by heart, and you won't even have bothered learning it. Be no effort whatsoever. So,
Kathy, before we begin, let's go to an ad break.
Are we going to an ad break?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's have a little break, guys. Go and get yourself a glass of something to drink. Take a little break. We'll be back in 2 minutes, and we'll see you then. Hi guys, and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break, and I hope you're loving your lesson today.
Life science, indeed. Life science.
I'm so terrified I'm going to say physical science. I hope you're enjoying your life science lesson today, and you're learning lots and lots. I know you're all asking lots of questions on the page, and Kathy is about to answer them.
You know what?
Right
we'll
now.
forgive her if she calls it physical science.
I know, but
and
you
it's
know
actually
what
quite an
learners
honor
forget?
to be called physical science, because everyone always thinks, life sciences. Actually, the brightest, most caring, divine human beings choose life science.
Yeah.
Any boring person can do physical science, and John's going to kill me. But okay, before I get myself into trouble, people, just quick. Monocotyledons, dicotyledons. You know, mono means 1, di means 2. Now, the leaves, you should know this. Your leaves for your monocots are like grass. There is no petiole. It has a parallel venation so that it's long. They're long and slender, and they are iso, means the same. Bi means two, lateral means both sides. So this fancy word, iso-bilateral, means that both sides, okay, are the same. Dicots, geez, every shape of leaf you can think of on this planet, and they always have a little leaf stem. Okay, lots of shapes, net venation, which means that the veins don't run in one direction, they are all over the show. And yeah, that's about it. And dorsiventral, dorsi means opposite. So the ventral side is different from the top side, opposite to iso-bilateral, where they are the same. Okay. The stems are green and herbaceous. They never have secondary thickening, so they never grow those big fat stems. You know, those stems that you can't even wrap your arms around? Okay, those are not. Those are disaccharides. So these are green and flexible. They have lots of scattered vascular bundles, and there's no cambium. Cambium is your tissue that makes cork. It makes those big fat round trunks, tree trunks. Okay, your stems here, they're woody. If you cut through them, they've got rings. So it's annual rings. They have vascular bundles that are very, very neatly arranged. Because you can imagine, if you're a little twig this size, not a problem. But Indy, can you imagine a tree trunk? I mean, in England and some of the old European countries, they've got tree trunks that you'd need 50 people to put their arms to fit around this thing. Okay, you've got to be organized if you're going to grow to that size. Yeah. So people think about it. Scattered vascular bundles in a monocot, whereas in a dicot, they're arranged. They're so neat, and they really know where they're supposed to be. And your cambium is between your xylem and your phloem. Because when you've got all these millions of layers that form this big fat stem, you've got to make sure that you're making xylem and you're making phloem. And more xylem and more phloem. Otherwise, you're never going to get the water from the soil to the top of the leaves. All right, and then here you've got an adventitious root system. That's a root system that goes sort of sideways, okay, and it sort of sits there, and the roots are quite shallow. Whereas your taproot system, my gosh, you've got a big tree, and you have this huge thing. It's humongous, and I mean, look at this tree here. I love this picture, and I've just lost it. No, man, what am I doing? I want to go, there we go. All right, if we look at our tree here, look at this humongous tree. Now, that doesn't look too big. Indy, can you see it? Doesn't look too big, but my gosh, look at this. Those tiny little pinpricks that you can see at the bottom there, those are the people.
So it's pretty huge.
This is humongous. Okay, now can you imagine? You've got to get water from here in the soil all the way up this tree to these tiny little leaves on the tippies of this. You need one heck of a suction force, number one. Number two, things have to be organized. The xylem, which transports water up the plant, must be very, very organized. I mean, Indy, does this make sense?
It makes total sense. I've actually got, Sabelo asked me, everything that goes up must come down. So where does the xylem water end up?
Sweet pea. The xylem, the water in the xylem ends up in the leaves. The leaves take that water. Now let's get ourselves a page here. No, I want a page. The xylem takes that water, the leaf. So in the leaf, okay, we have chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. And it takes that chlorophyll, which is the green stuff, and the chlorophyll in the chloroplast. Okay, so the chlorophyll inside the organelle, which is the chloroplast, in there, it's going to take water, which it got up the xylem from the roots and the soil, plus it's going to take carbon dioxide from the air all around the leaves, because remember, all of this is happening in the leaf. So it's the green stuff, which is in an organelle called the chloroplast. plus water, plus carbon dioxide, okay, plus energy, which we call radiant energy, and that we get from the sun. And it takes this whole lot together, because this is our energy. So water, the carbon dioxide, and the energy, and it spits out glucose. The glucose molecules all join together. Because remember, glucose is a monosaccharide. You learned that in grade 10. And it takes all the glucose and it combines them into a polysaccharide called starch. And the starch is osmotically inactive, so the starch does not affect the flow of water. Now we take that starch and we take water in the leaf, and it then goes into the phloem. And you know the veins of a leaf? I wish we had a leaf here, but if you look at the veins of a leaf, every one of those veins is your xylem and your phloem vessels. Okay, so that's it's your vascular bundles. That's what it is. Okay, so it goes chup chup chup, goes into the phloem, and there's water there. It's like tissue fluid.
Somebody had a very good question. I'm so sorry because I've actually lost it. I'm trying to look for it. They wanted to know about a potato. What does a potato do? Because they don't have leaves. How does the water kind of flow? I don't know.
Wait. Okay. People,
How does
a potato is a tuber, okay, and it's a form of vegetative reproduction. So you've got this plant. Let's just do this. Okay. You have in vegetative, okay, let's do our little plant. We've got our, so it's going to have leaves. Okay, now you know why I'm not an art teacher.
I think it's beautiful.
And there's the soil. Okay, this is a potato plant. All right, now, if we look at our potato plant, it has to get water. Okay, we have to do this. It's got to get the water from the soil up the plant, up the xylem vessel. Remember, the xylem vessel always transports water up. So up the xylem, and it goes chips to the leaves. What do the leaves do? The leaves photosynthesize. When they photosynthesize, they will take, and I used to do this with my grade 9s years ago, I set them right, watch. Takes water from the soil. I used to make them do this, and I taught boys only at King Edward's. So the boys used to feel very uncomfortable doing this, but I said to them, guys, stand, right. Takes water from the soil, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and radiant energy from the sun to produce glucose. Now, boys love eating, so they used to appreciate the fact that it was glucose. And I used to watch them in exams. And when they were writing down and all of this happens in the chloroplast of the cell. And when I used to watch them write exams, I used to watch them say,
doing the dance.
And they close their eyes and they're busy. And then I knew they were writing down the definition for photosynthesis. So just remember it. All right. So, and if boys can do it, I promise you, nobody laughed. All right. So the potato plant, and it doesn't look like I've crossed my T there. So let's just make the potato plant. All right. So we've now got the water up via the xylem. The leaves are going to use that photosynthesize, make nutrients. They're going to make glucose. They're going to make fructose. If it's a fruit, the fruit will contain fructose. The seeds, like peanuts and sunflower seeds, which also get made by plants, they are all going to have fats. But here we're looking at a potato plant. So these nutrients are made, and they are then transported via and I'm going to use red, the phloem vessel, okay, down the plant, maybe up again into there, down there into this little root, maybe up there, then up again to this little plant cell that needs nutrients to have energy to be able to work, and down again, all right, so that the entire plant, up and down the plant, is the phloem, and it's carrying the nutrients. Now, the plant feels, well, in the case of a potato, it's got to store its nutrients. So it says, alrighty, hold on, because some plants store their food in their stem. Some store it in the root. Some store it in the leaves. Now, we eat lettuce leaves, don't we? Mm-hmm. Hello. Lettuce and spinach, lots of energy, gives you iron, makes you strong so that you don't get anemic, all right? So there the nutrients are stored in the leaves, okay? In the case of roots, potatoes, we have the tubers. You have stems, onions. You all eat onions. The nutrients are stored in the stem, carrots. which is carrots is a root. So that's where the nutrients are stored. So the potato is now going to start developing a little tuber. And the little tuber is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we are going to go and dig in the ground, and we're going to break the tuber off the root. Okay? And there's my potato. But what's stored in there? A substance that cannot be dissolved. Because the minute that substance becomes dissolved, it's going to move up the phloem again. So we want to store it. So we say glucose, plus another glucose, plus another glucose, plus another glucose, and so on and so on, and we store it as a polysaccharide in the form of a substance called starch. And that's how plants store their food. And how do we know that a plant has made starch? We take a leaf, and we take a plant, and we stick one in the cupboard, and we leave it there for 48 hours. You think, whoa, why? Well, the plant is going to use whatever energy it's made and whatever food it's made, it's in the leaves, it's going to use that normally. So we want it to use everything because it's not getting any sunlight and it can't photosynthesize, so we stick it in a cupboard for 2 days. Okay, then we take it out, and we have our normal plant that had sunlight all the time, and we do the starch test. We boil the leaves to break the chloroplasts. That's why sometimes when you cook green vegetables, you have green water.
Yeah, I was wondering that.
It's the chlorophyll. Okay, it's the green pigment. So what do? We boil it to break the cellulose cell walls. Okay, then we take those leaves and we stick them in alcohol, which takes all the chlorophyll, the green pigment out. Because otherwise, if you go and try and see if there's starch, you're never going to see it. Everything's going to look dark anyway. So you take the chlorophyll out, and then you take iodine, and this is part of your food tests. You take iodine, you drop it on, and if it goes blue-black, starch is present. And do me a favor, take a little bit of iodine, cut a potato open, stick a little bit of iodine on there, and it's going to go blue-black. All right, it's a test for starch. So that's how the potato plant and where the potatoes came from. But if this was a carrot, and you had, there's your carrot, and then you've got your leaves that come up over there because it's got this tiny little stem, this would have been water being stored, or nutrients being stored in the root. It's a tap root. All right, people. So it's as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Well, we've got a question here from Tapelo, and it's got to do with, I think, the carrot. Well, he asks, how are the roots, how the root hairs adapted for their function?
Very important.
Actually, I'm going to do this after another question. We've got a vascular bundle question, so I think it will actually
Okay, no, let me do the root hair first.
Okay, we're all getting overexcited.
Something that is, okay, look, I was going to get to the root hair because I was going to show you the whole root and then do the root hair. I may as well do the root hair now. A root hair is actually an extension of an epidermal cell. It's part of the epidermis. Now, we have epidermis. Our skin is our epidermis. Okay, but in a plant, and Indy, you need to, now this is what makes life science special, is in a leaf, The epidermis, you've got the epidermal cells is to protect. It's got this waxy layer on the outside, and then it's got these little cell structures that look like the half beans. Well, they look like bean structures. Yeah. And that's the little holes or the pores to allow the gases to move in and out of a leaf. And you think, a plant can do all of this? Let me tell you something, they actually are awesome. Then, a specialized epidermal cell, you've got the stomata, but specialized epidermal cells in the little root. And you know what, when you've got a root that goes, there's the taproot, you've got your lateral roots, and there's your taproot keeps going. And at the end of each one of these roots here, you're going to have a structure that looks like this. That's the end of each of these
lessons have gone here, Kathy.
Terribly fast. We've got our producers shouting at us and saying, 5 minutes left. And I think, whoa, it's like an hour. All right, people watch. You've got the root cap, which is as this little root goes, whatever branch it is going through the ground. And then you've got this region here, which is your growth region. It's called the meristematic region. Okay, that's the growth region. That's where mitosis takes place all the time to make brand new cells, and it pushes the tip of the root forward into the soil. And then just behind, then you've got the region of elongation. So here you've made the new cells. Here your new cells are getting bigger. So I'm just going to put elongation here. I have no idea why I keep making these little squares. All right, and then just behind that, here, you've got your region of differentiation. And that's where you're going to get your root hairs. And your root hair's job, 80% of the water that's absorbed by a root, 80% is absorbed in this region here. 80%. Not here and everywhere else. Here, at the tip where the root hairs are. It's your root hair region. Now, if we look at our root hair, it's a little structure. So remember, these are your epidermal cells. So there's one epidermal cell, and now your root hairs are modified epidermal cell. Now look at why we say it's a modified epidermal cell. It's got like a nose like Pinocchio that sticks into the soil. And anything, people, that has a fold in it increases the surface area. And you're going to say, whoa, 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 stop the boat. And I'm going to say, no, no. Watch here.
Stop the bus.
Stop that bus. I want to get off. No, you don't. We are going to do this together. It's easy as pie. Okay? And I'm not making a fan. Do you remember when you were in grade 1 and 2? And it takes you back all those years. And us mommies, when we have to sit through long, extended prize givings at your schools and those hot school halls, we do this. We take the program and you go, okay? So you sort of do the fan thing. Well, the fan thing is what we're talking about. If I have 30 centimeters, which is a page, and I want to cram this into 1 millimeter, look, I can do it. But I've still got 30 centimeters sitting in here. And that's what we call an increased surface area. All right, so instead of it being this way, we've put folds in it. And we put those folds in to increase the surface area. The same thing applies here. So if we look at this root hair, number 1, it has, your roots have no cuticle. This is how they are suited to their function. Structure versus function. They have no cuticle. Not like a leaf that's got a nice thick cuticle. No cuticle, so the water can move in easily, number 1. Number 2, you've got this. Now look at this structure here. It is long. It has extended. So hang on, I want to move this back to there. All right? So it's got an increased surface area because of this protrusion that sticks out, this extension that sticks out. In between, and here I'm going to have my soil particles. Okay? And so that's the second. You've got increased surface area. And apart from that increased surface area, I've got a very thin layer of cells. A thin cell layer. So the water can get in there quickly. And the water is going to move from a high water potential to a lower water potential because the vacuole in that root hair is so large, and it contains plenty of cell sap with dissolved nutrients. So it's always going to cause a lower water potential inside there. So the water moves from a higher to a lower water potential all the way through till it gets to the xylem vessels and up the plant. And I'm afraid, people, that's it. We have run out of time.
I know, can you believe it? Don't forget grade 12s that Life Sciences is on next. Grade 11s, thank you so much for tuning in, and please come back next week for another lesson. Okay, have a good evening, guys. Bye.